Thyroid diet. Lose weight fast and control your metabolism despite hypothyroidism by John Cook. Narrated by Jason Blakely. Copyright 2017. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced in any form or by any means without permission in writing from the publisher, John Cook. Contents. Introduction. Chapter 1. 2 different thyroid diets. Chapter 2. 7 toxins that impact your thyroid and sabotage your overall health. Chapter 3. Food intolerances. Chapter 4. Avoiding goitrogens. Chapter 5. Learning about an underactive thyroid diet. Chapter 6. Gluten. Chapter 7. 7 all-natural thyroid boosters to help your thyroid and your weight. Chapter 8. Thyroid function. Additional comments. Introduction. Thyroid disorders are a common disease in every part of the world. Unfortunately, most thyroid sufferers are undiagnosed and find out when they already have a severe thyroid disease, or worse, thyroid cancer. Those who discovered their disease early easily counteracted the disease and just relied on natural thyroid help or remedies. However, doctors sometimes give supplements after they diagnose a patient with thyroid disease, but there are still thyroid patients who prefer treating their thyroid disease naturally. One of the best natural thyroid remedies out there is following a thyroid diet. Although it is true that there is no scientific basis yet that proves this method is really working, many thyroid survivors actually recommend having this diet plan. But before you go for this diet, there are certain things you need to consider first. One is the kind of thyroid disease you have. If you don't get what I mean, thyroid disease can be one of 2 kinds. First is the hypothyroid, or hypothyroidism, also called underactive thyroid. This kind of thyroid disease means that your thyroid hormone production is below the limit, the needed amount of hormones to sustain your body system to function normally. If your thyroid cannot produce enough hormones, which are called thyroxine, this will cause your gland to malfunction. Weight gain is one of the things that can happen, by the way. Let me explain more about that. The thyroid hormone serves as the activator of each cell in your body system to execute a certain movement or action. The thyroid hormone, or thyroxine, regulates your emotion, growth, and body development. So if you experience a sudden mood swing, that may have been the cause for your thyroid. In addition, underactive thyroid symptoms also include sudden jumps in the terms of your weight, blurry eye vision, thinning of your hair, and dryness in your skin. Now, about the second kind of thyroid disease. This is called hyperthyroid, hence hyperthyroidism, or overactive thyroid. This kind of thyroid disease is actually the exact opposite of hypothyroid. It is an overproduction of the thyroid hormone. Some of the most common symptoms of this disease are unexpected weight loss, tremors, difficulty in sleeping, brittle hair, goiter-appeared swelling, enlarging, at the base of your neck, and fatigue. Back to the diet. If you are suffering from hypothyroid, the best thing to do if you want to treat this disease naturally is to increase the intake of iodine-rich foods and at the same time eliminate foods that can harm your thyroid health. Iodine is actually the main component of your thyroid function, and lacking this means there will be a shortage in producing thyroid hormones. Meanwhile, if you're hyperthyroid, since it is the opposite of hypothyroid, it means you need to minimize or eliminate iodine-rich foods entirely. Chapter 1. 2 different thyroid diets. Because of our exposure to a lot of pollution and toxic foods, there is a big possibility of developing diseases. One of these can be thyroid problems. This can be dangerous because the thyroid gland is producing active T3 hormones, which are needed for the proper metabolism of the body. It also helps the other body systems function properly. If there is a problem with the said gland, you need to immediately cure it. You can do this by eating a healthy diet. As mentioned in the introduction, there are 2 different thyroid diets that you can take because there are also 2 major thyroid problems. Again, one of them is hyperthyroidism, which means that the gland is producing too many hormones, more than what the body needs. The other one is hypothyroidism, which happens when the thyroid does not produce the right amount of hormones. To help you cure any of the said thyroidal diseases with a particular diet, here are 2 different thyroid diets that you need to know about. 1. Hyperthyroidism diet. As I mentioned earlier, The hyperthyroidism occurs when the gland is creating too many hormones. These excess hormones will only damage the body if they are transferred to different body systems. It can result into a lot of health problems, including fatigue, night sweats, irritability, anxiety, and many others. What you need are foods that will slow down the production of the hormones. Foods that are high with vitamin C, omega-3, and calcium are some of the foods you need to eat. Indulge with foods like green leafy vegetables, beans, soy, cauliflower, and spinach. You can also eat fresh fruits like lemon, apples, and other citrus fruits. Eat these instead of junk foods for snacks. Some herbs also help stabilize the thyroid glands. The turmeric, motherwort, and bugleweed are selective herbs you can take. 2. Hypothyroidism diet. Hypothyroidism happens when the thyroid gland does not produce the amount of hormones that it should be producing. The gland is malfunctioning, which is why it slows down. This can be due to a lack of essential vitamins and minerals needed by that gland. A proper hypothyroidism diet includes drinking lots of water. Drink a minimum of 8 glasses of water each day. This will prevent the dehydration of your body so that you will have a regulated flow in your metabolism. Iodine is an important mineral for the thyroid. Make sure you eat foods that contain high amounts of protein. These could be seafoods, seaweeds, and sushi. Other foods like bananas, parsley, and broccoli are also high in iodine. Eat lots of fiber foods like fresh vegetables and fruits, so that your bowel movement will be regulated. Because you need to produce more hormones, indulge with coconut oil. This is a proven to be effective oil that will maintain the health of your body. Apart from iodine, an amino acid called selenium is also important for the body. You can get this from foods like Brazil nuts, rice, salmon, and tuna. You can start taking these 2 different thyroid diets during the first signs of thyroid problems. Just remember to make sure that you know which of these 2 thyroidal gland problems you have. These 2 different thyroid diets contradict each other, so be careful before you begin dieting. Consult your doctor first so he can tell you which one of these diseases you have. Maintaining a healthy thyroid diet with food sensitivities. There are foods you need to remove from your diet, and there are foods that you should add to your daily food intake. This isn't a diet in the sense that you are trying to lose weight, but a habit of healthy eating. Not everyone will agree that there is a connection between diet and a healthy thyroid. I challenge you to give it a try for a few weeks and monitor any changes in how you feel. It is important to understand that most, 90%, of hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism result from autoimmune issues. This means that your immune system is attacking your thyroid gland. In the next chapters, I will elaborate on this issue. Chapter 2. 7 toxins that impact your thyroid and sabotage your overall health. The majority of people with thyroid conditions also have an autoimmune disorder. This means that the thyroid itself is not the cause of your thyroid drama. It is your immune system, as I mentioned before. It has been found that most people with thyroid conditions also have high toxicity levels in their body. Where is so much toxicity coming from? 1. Food we eat. The food we eat today is vastly different than that of 100 years ago. Instead of the pure, unadulterated food we used to eat, we now consume highly processed products with all sorts of additives and preservatives. The processing of the food changes the structure and nutritional value of the food. Things like pasteurization, homogenization, and the refining of foods changes its form. Many of these processed foods are not things that our bodies are built to ingest and digest, and that shows how many digestive issues and food sensitivities people have today. Let's not forget the low-fat trend, or should I say, obsession, which has caused loads of food products to contain low-fat but high levels of sugars and other added ingredients to make the food taste better. If you haven't noticed, the rate of disease has also increased significantly from what it used to be. The goal here is to revamp your diet to be the healthiest it can be without breaking the bank or causing anxiety for you and your family. This should be a fun and exciting change. 2. Water we drink. Tap water contains fluoride that is added in order to ensure good dental hygiene. The United States is one of the few countries that adds this chemical to its drinking water. Fluoride is banned from drinking water in most European countries because its safety is a highly controversial topic. Speaking of safety, we are now realizing that fluoride blocks the ability of the iodine to bind with the thyroid gland, which is essential in T4 production and consequently T3, the active hormone, production, and could possibly be responsible for slowing down the conversion of T4 to T3, which is why you might not be feeling well, even though you may be on Thyroid medication. 3. Household cleaning items. There are a multitude of chemicals found in household cleaning products, some of which might be a shock to some people. BPAs in plastics and parabens in cosmetics and food products are two that may be starting to be well known. Other chemicals are highly toxic as well, such as PFOAs in non-stick pans and triclosan in antibacterial soaps, and these are just a few. These chemicals are endocrine disruptors. They are synthetic estrogens or xenestrogens that parade around as estrogens in your body, but don't actually act as estrogens in terms of doing the appropriate hormonal work. This is important because estrogen, same as your thyroid hormone, are directly dependent on each other and they balance each other out. 4. Skincare products. Did you know that your skin is the largest exposed organ of your body? It is also one that we often put chemical-laden soaps, lotions, cosmetics, and perfumes on. Do you see how this can be a huge issue? These skincare products often contain parabens and phthalates that cause cancer, and many act as endocrine disruptors as well. Think twice next time before you spray that perfume bottle on your way out the door. 5. Antibiotics and drugs. Doctors way overprescribe antibiotics and other medications these days for the smallest problems, so many people go for meds the minute they are not feeling well to avoid a little discomfort. But in the long run, they are causing themselves even more pain and misery. Antibiotics will kill the bad bacteria that are causing you to be sick for sure, but they will also kill the good bacteria, the ones that help keep your immune system healthy and functioning properly. It is therefore key to introduce probiotics if we have to take antibiotics. Note the have to. 6. Parasites and infections. Parasites are much more common than we think. Common parasites include ringworms, pinworms, hookworms, roundworms, tapeworms, and liver flukes. These things strip us of nutrients and create even more toxic loads in our bodies. Another problem and origin of Hashimoto's or Graves' disease can be H. pylori, a pathogenic bacterium. It causes chronic gastritis and peptic ulcers, which cause pro-inflammatory response in the body and leads to such autoimmune disorders as I just mentioned. 7. Negative emotions and stress. You may think negative emotions and stress are just a part of daily life, and something that you just need to get through or deal with. But it is much more than that. Our adrenal gland plays a huge role in stress. When we experience stress, they produce cortisol, a hormone that gives us focus and energy, as well as stimulates our immune system. This used to be the fight or flight response. We would experience danger, produce cortisol, and either have the strength to run away or fight. Either way, our bodies made use of the cortisol produced. Nowadays, stress comes in the form of work stress, low self-esteem, uncertainty with finances, romantic relationships, overcommitting oneself, and many other scenarios. Do we physically run away or fight in those cases? No. When our bodies consistently produce cortisol, our adrenal glands get tired. This leads them to stop producing enough cortisol, and both our immune system and thyroid are affected. Although you cannot always eliminate stressful situations from your life, there are ways in which you can reframe these situations and respond to them differently so as to save your adrenals and thyroid. Freeing the body of toxicity will most certainly boost the immune system and thyroid health of any thyroid patient. A proper detox protocol needs to be adopted to produce the right results. Chapter 3. Food intolerances. Do you see gluten-free, dairy-free, etc. popping up at the health stores today? This is because many people get off the big five, gluten, dairy, corn, eggs, and soy, and experience significant changes. To find the culprits, I always start off with an elimination diet, and this produces clear, unbiased results. You can also get a food intolerance test, not allergies, it's different. But they are far from accurate. Gluten is an infamous food. If you have a thyroid condition and eliminating it is key. However, oftentimes you would need to cut out more than just gluten. Fix your digestive tract, gut. Most thyroid conditions are autoimmune diseases. There are tons of lymphocytes and other immune cells in the gut, which protect the body from viruses, bacteria, and other invaders. This is why most people with thyroid conditions also experience frequent bloating, gas, constipation, or diarrhea. A diet change will help your gut tremendously. All disease begins in the gut, said Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine. Reduce toxicity. Drinking the correct amount of water should also be an important part of your thyroid diet plan. Try to have at least 8 glasses of fresh and clean water on a daily basis. Cut back on sodas and brewed beverages as these will not be doing you any favors in the short or long term. Adequate hydration is one of the keys to having a thyroid working correctly. Pop is one of the worst things you can drink, besides alcohol that is. It dehydrates like crazy, despite the amounts of water it contains. The sugar intake is huge, and the calories add up. Avoid soda pops like crazy if you can. Instead, try to find some juice without sugar or aspartame. Or, of course, just water, which is the best. From additives, preservatives, artificial sweeteners, excessive sodium, trans fats, as well as toxins hiding around your house, there are tons of bad substances in the drinks we drink. Make sure you know what you are doing. Detox. Your liver and your gut are the spots where the T4 hormone, an active hormone, gets converted to T3, the active hormone, which is actually the one that powers us up. Most of our body cells need T3, not just T4. If you're taking Thyroid, you are taking a synthetic version of T4 that still needs to be converted to T3. If you have a sluggish liver and gut, you won't convert properly. Look into doing a yearly, bi-yearly detox by fasting, juicing, etc. to give your body a break. Address stress and adrenal fatigue. You won't be able to fix your thyroid without fixing the adrenals. The adrenals are also part of the endocrine system and fire up when you are stressed out. I recommend looking up adrenal fatigue symptoms to see if you have them. De-stressing by working with a therapist, getting into meditation, breathing, positive thinking, whatever works for you is key. Remove goitrous food. This is the case when you suffer from hypothyroidism. Goiter is a substance that slows down the thyroid. It is found in bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, mustard greens, radishes, soy milk, soy lecithin, often used as a filler in vegetarian food, and tofu. Cooking them reduces their goitrous properties, but you should still limit them in the recovery phase. Our body has an amazing ability to heal. Just give it the right environment and tools, and it will do all the work for you. Learn what thyroid diet foods to avoid and which ones to add. The right thyroid diet foods will start healing your immune system and your thyroid. Chapter 4. Avoiding goitrogens. A goitrogen is a substance in certain foods that will suppress normal thyroid function by blocking iodine. The term goitrogen comes from the word goiter, which is when the thyroid gland enlarges when it is trying to compensate for a lack of hormone production. The intake of iodine is essential because the thyroid gland needs this for the proper production of hormones, and a goitrogen will get in the way, potentially causing a goiter. When someone has an underactive thyroid and they are on a thyroid diet, it becomes essential to avoid foods containing this substance. There are basically two types of foods that contain goitrogens: soybeans and cruciferous vegetables. The soybean, including tofu, contains what are called isoflavones, and it is these substances that hinder the thyroid. Otherwise, the nutritional value of soy-based foods is high, and they don't need to be avoided by someone who does not already have thyroid issues or is on a thyroid diet. The second category, cruciferous vegetables, contain what are called isothiocyanates. These pretty much do the same as the isoflavones, disruption of the uptake of iodine by the thyroid gland. Like soy, the nutritional value of these vegetables is very high, and people without any issues do not need to avoid them. The following foods are goitrogenic, but on the light side, which means that they can most likely be consumed in moderation by someone on a thyroid diet. They can also be cooked, which will cause the goitrogens to become inactive. Nonetheless, if you can avoid them, then do so. Peanuts, pine nuts, sweet potatoes, spinach, pears, millet, strawberries, bamboo shoots, kale, collard greens, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, mustard greens, radishes, rutabagas, turnip slotine, the essential element in an underactive thyroid diet, cabbage, canola, bok choy, horseradish. Iodine, the essential element in an underactive thyroid diet. Having a thyroid gland that does not produce the ample amount of thyroxine hormone that the body needs to utilize energy properly, which would always lead to various health complications. Since iodine makes up the major components of thyroxine, you must do something about this iodine deficiency in your body so as to get your body to use up energy. Your underactive thyroid diet must have one essential element, iodine. It only makes sense to take in iodine-rich foods in order to keep up with the low levels of iodine being released by the thyroid gland. In fact, you can find so many foods around you that are rich in iodine. Some of the foods that have high iodine content are seafood. You can opt for fish, oysters, and crustaceans. Seaweeds are another good source of iodine. You might be surprised to find out that even the cheddar cheese, mayonnaise, condensed milk, eggs, and fish oils have iodine too. But seafood and seaweeds are always considered to have the highest iodine content. Once you are able to fill your diet with iodine-rich foods, you can be sure that your underactive thyroid diet is in the right track. your body now has the right amounts of iodine to be able to function well. Iodine helps your body's metabolic processes. Without sufficient amounts of iodine, the body would not be able to utilize the energy that one derives from food, the result of which is weight gain. Iodine could also give you the energy that you need to do your daily activities. It helps the cells utilize energy properly, so if you lack iodine, your tendency is to feel lethargic. Aside from keeping you from getting obese, iodine also helps keep the skin, hair, and teeth healthy. Lack of iodine can actually hamper hair growth. These are just some of the benefits that the body can get when the underactive thyroid diet is high in iodine-rich foods. You can also be sure that the symptoms of hypothyroidism that you experience will be alleviated. Vitamin A assists in maintaining normal glandular function. Foods to eat: yellow vegetables, eggs, carrots, watercress, parsley, chlorella, spinach. Vitamin B complex plays a major role in energy production as it helps convert carbohydrates into sugar to fuel the body's energy. It also helps process amino acids and fatty acids. Foods to eat: avocados, duck, lamb, sweet potatoes, sunflower seeds. Vitamin C. This is essential for normal adrenal functioning and glandular activity. Foods to eat: kiwi, oranges, lemons, and bell peppers. Zinc and copper. It helps the body make thyroid hormones, along with vitamin E and A. Foods to eat: zinc, beef, oatmeal, chicken, seafood, seeds, almonds, Brazil nuts, except peanuts. Foods to eat: copper, eggs, legumes. Iron. Being hypothyroid can result in lower productions of hydrochloric acids, which results in malabsorption of iron. Lack of iron can also lower your body temperature and cause heavy menstruation and fatigue. Foods to eat: lean meats, liver, leafy green vegetables, kale, spinach, watercress. Selenium. This is used for slowing down thyroid diseases. Foods to eat: nuts and liver. Best form of intake is vitamin capsules. Essential fatty acids and omega oils, 3 and 6. Essential fatty acids can help improve brittle hair and nails, add shine to hair, and improve brain function to reduce fog-like thinking felt by thyroid patients. Foods to eat: mackerel, salmon, halibut. Avoid drinking black tea and coffee with sugar. Opt for herbal teas, such as dandelion, fennel, ginger, and green tea. This will help your body release toxins. Dairy products, cakes, biscuits, vinegar, hard cheese, white bread, flour, yeast, and dry fruits. They all increase fermentation and yeast growth and slow down the hormones. Avoid junk food and opt for freshly grown organic vegetables and meats whenever possible. Goitrogenic foods, such as Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, mustard, cauliflower, turnips, soybeans, pine nuts, peanuts, millet, strawberries, too much tea, peaches and pears because they slow down the thyroid. Heating olive oil. When it is heated, it's transformed into a trans fatty acid which increases risk of cancer. Add cold pressed olive oil, walnut oil, and flaxseed oil to salads and vegetables. Chapter 5. Learning about an underactive thyroid diet. If you have an underactive thyroid problem, then you know how miserable it can be before you receive proper treatment. There are a number of symptoms of this problem. Some of the most common symptoms are fatigue, weight gain, low blood pressure, depression, fingernail ridges, and a number of others. Medication is prescribed for this condition, but an underactive thyroid diet is also an important factor. As with any food plan, the quality of the food is going to mean a healthier body, including this particular gland. Specific things are definitively on the list for a healthy diet. They are iodine, protein, fiber, selenium, omega-3 fatty acids, and lots of water. Meals and snacks are utilized in order to achieve this goal. The problem of a low thyroid is that it is slowing down of physical actions within the body which produce an inefficient hormone. For this reason, it is suggested that meals be spread throughout the day to keep the metabolism active. Eating breakfast is also a must. If it is skipped, it will slow down the metabolism. Drinking lots of water is not only healthy for this condition, but for the rest of the body as well, as it will help remove toxins and metabolize fats. One way to determine if you are drinking enough water is to look at your urine. If it is dark, you are not drinking enough water. If light yellow or colorless, you are drinking enough. Omega-3 fatty acids are extremely important as they do two important things. They control the appetite, thus weight, and they balance blood sugar levels. Some excellent examples of this important addition to the food plan are flax, hemp, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring. These foods are rich in these necessary acids. Underactive thyroid symptoms in growing children. Children and infants also suffer from underactive thyroid. This is why newborn children are examined for the condition. If the condition is detected at an early phase, the child can be saved from any abnormal development and growth through proper treatment. Sleepiness, constipation, puffy face, throaty harshness, and frequent choking when feeding are some of the early signs of hypothyroidism in babies. If they do not receive appropriate treatment in time, babies with hypothyroidism may develop protruding abdomens, delayed teething, and dryness of hair and skin. The children may also be too short for their age, have a lower intelligence level, and a puffy appearance. In other words, hypothyroidism can severely affect the child's normal mental and physical development. Underactive thyroid symptoms affect millions of individuals in different parts of the world and are particularly prevalent in women. Thus, women should learn all they can about the condition and its symptoms. If a pregnant woman develops this condition during the first 3 months of pregnancy, she should see her physician right away and undergo therapy for the same, so as to ensure the unborn child has optimum chance of growing and developing normally. Other foods needed to maintain a healthy thyroid diet include these foods: proteins and fats. They are the building blocks of your digestive tract and our hormones. We are fatophobic in America, and low-fat diets are some of the worst things we invented. Europeans and Asians have fat-rich diets traditionally and enjoy much better health than we do. Good fat tips: avocados, walnuts, coconut oil, coconut butter. Animal fats are the best at restoring a troubled digestion. Ghee, clarified butter, chicken, and beef fat are essential but need to be rendered and not in fried processed form. Probiotics. Probiotics are key in restoring your digestive tract. Everyone has bacteria in their digestive tract, or gut, that is essential to the function of the human body. A healthy adult has about 1.5 to 2 kilograms of bacteria in their gut, both good and bad. Normal levels of bacteria, or flora, in the gut protect against invaders, undigested food, toxins, and parasites. When the good and bad bacteria in the gut get out of whack, i.e. more bad than good, a whole host of negative reactions can occur in the body. Undigested foods can leak through the bloodstream, causing food allergies and intolerances. Vitamins and minerals to not be absorbed, leading to deficiencies. The bad bacteria to produce a whole host of toxins, and the immune system to not function properly. Here are examples of traditionally fermented food that you could incorporate into your diet. Sauerkraut, picked properly fermented, not in vinegar. Kimchi, Korean fermented veggies. Yogurt. Kefir, has different bacteria than yogurt, also super beneficial. Vegetable medley, fermented. Coconut water kefir. Herbs, supplements, and vitamins that benefit the thyroid. It is hard to give tips here as many people over-medicate and feel worse later. Hopefully, these tips help. They apply to most autoimmune conditions. This was given by my naturopath who focuses on hormonal and thyroid health. Vitamin D deficient. Taking vitamin D in 2,000 units is safe and good to do as vitamin D is actually a hormone connected to the thyroid. Calcium is key but needs to be taken with magnesium for full absorption for hypothyroidism. Selenium, turmeric, curcumin, phytosterols, and the GI support. Probiotics and L-glutamine are key. For hyperthyroidism, copper and magnesium are a common deficiency in people with hyper. How much protein should you consume? In addition to developing an alkaline pH, adequate protein intake is a major fundamental aspect of achieving optimal thyroid health. According to the vast majority of nutrition books, healthy individuals should ingest a minimum of 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram body weight every day. Unfortunately, this calculation is not accurate for everyone because we all have different activity levels, stress levels, and genetics. Another flaw in this calculation is that some of the scientific literature shows that one must ingest 1.2 to 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram body weight every day if there's a protein deficit. Therefore, on average, I prefer those who are chronically ill to consume 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram body weight every day as a minimum. The one exception to this rule is the patient who is producing high amounts of C-reactive protein, which is a sign of inflammation. Eating protein will further feed its production by the liver, possibly exacerbating your condition. Another important factor in these calculations is the quality of protein. Not all protein is created equal, so the amount of protein consumed is heavily dependent on protein sources. Sometimes it can be difficult to get adequate protein intake from diet alone. This is where protein and amino acid supplements come into the picture. Before beginning any kind of protein supplementation, you should make sure you are eating the highest quality protein from food sources. These include eggs, ideally organic and free-range, types of fish known to be relatively low in heavy metals, chicken, ideally organic and free-range, non-commercial forms of red meats such as grass-fed, locally raised beef, grass-fed buffalo, and grass-fed lamb, dairy products, ideally organic from locally raised dairy cows, nuts and seeds, particularly almonds, pecans, and walnuts, ideally organic, legumes, ideally organic, soybeans. Since soy allergies are common, this may be one of the foods on the list that you will need to avoid. In addition, soy products tend to be highly processed. Only soy products that are fermented, such as tempeh and miso, should be consumed as protein sources from soy. Dairy is also problematic because of the high allergenicity, processing, and reliability of sources. Dairy can also be very hard to digest and is often contaminated with antibiotics, hormones, and toxins from the cows. Dairy is, of course, an excellent source of protein, but I recommend that the amount of protein consumed from dairy should be minimal. People are most willing to follow a dietary plan when there are a variety of food choices. This is why I recommend both animal and vegetable-based protein sources eaten in rotation. Vegan diets can also be a concern regarding protein for a few reasons. If we review the primary protein source of a typical vegan diet in the United States, it is found that soy is the main protein source to such diets. Unfortunately, soy is low in sulfur-based amino acids. This matters because sulfur-based amino acids are required for optimal liver detoxification, the building of glutathione, a powerful antioxidant, and tissue repair. In addition, plant-based foods can contain virtually all of the nutrients necessary for optimal health with the exception of vitamin B12. I find that many patients are deficient in B12 and therefore require supplementation. Vegans must have a tremendous amount of knowledge for proper food combining and supplementation in order to achieve optimal protein and amino acid intake for a healthy body. When it comes to protein and amino acid supplementation, there are a variety of healthy choices. I recommend whey protein for those who are not sensitive, allergic to dairy. Rice, pea, and hemp protein sources can also provide high-quality protein and amino acids. Protein powder products are the most beneficial to those who have good digestive function. For those who have impaired digestive function, I like to use free-form amino acid products for direct delivery of protein building blocks into the system. Some people require HCI, or digestive enzymes, in order to optimize digestion and absorption of amino acids. Chapter 6. Gluten. If you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease, you must avoid gluten indefinitely. One of the ways to test for gluten intolerance is the anti-gliadin antibody test, which measures an immune response to gliadin, the main protein portion of gluten. A negative anti-gliadin antibody test in saliva, stool, or blood does not rule out gluten intolerance. You can still have gluten intolerance and have false negatives on these tests. If the test is positive in saliva, stool, or blood, then this is a very strong indicator that you are gluten intolerant. In most cases, there has to be some damage to the lining of the small intestine for the test to be positive in blood or saliva. It is important to understand that traditional medicine only recognizes blood testing or a small intestine biopsy as diagnostic of gluten intolerance. Your traditional physician will have you go through a gluten challenge diet for 4 to 6 weeks and then test your blood to see if the gliadin antibody is elevated. This is the worst possible way of detecting gluten intolerance for 2 reasons. The first is that if someone is gluten intolerant and you force someone to eat gluten for 4 to 6 weeks, you are significantly harming his or her body. The second reason is that this test can be negative even if the person is gluten intolerant, making this test a poor method of diagnosis. Your doctor may want to order a biopsy of the small intestine to look for damage to the lining of the small intestine. He is looking for what is known as villus atrophy, meaning that the villi that line the gut have been damaged and are worn away from the immune system attack on the dietary gluten intake. The problem with this test is that you can have gluten intolerance but have no villus atrophy. 70% of the negative effects of gluten occurs outside of the intestine. This can result in only mild inflammation of the intestine but extra-intestinal damage to organs such as the thyroid, bones, pancreas, brain, adrenals, etc. I would not feel comfortable having a piece of my small intestine cut out just to perform a test that is not completely accurate. The best thing you can do is to fill out our gluten questionnaire and have the blood, saliva, or stool test done to see if there's a positive antibody in any of these. If only one is positive and you have many of the indicators of gluten intolerance, then you should avoid gluten indefinitely. Most people avoid gluten for a few months and then sneak something in such as a piece of bread and they end up feeling horrible after eating it. Remember, it is estimated that up to 40% of Americans are gluten intolerant, so it is important to know if you are as well. It can mean the difference between a major autoimmune attack on your thyroid or none at all. The following grains contain gluten: wheat, oats. Not in nature, but 99% of oats in the US are processed in machinery used for other gluten-containing grains. Rye, barley, spelt, kamut, triticale, bulgur, semolina, couscous, durum flour. Gluten can be hidden, so read labels carefully. Be wary of modified food starch, dextrin, flavorings and extracts, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, imitation seafood, and creamed or thickened products such as soups, stews, and sauces. The following grains do not contain gluten and are acceptable for gluten-intolerant individuals and of those, of course, who are not: corn, millet, rice, taro, teff, arrowroot, wild rice, tapioca, buckwheat, quinoa, amaranth, wheatgrass, barley grass, barley malt, goitrogens. Low thyroid symptoms. It seems as if a diagnosis of a low thyroid used to be more common a generation ago. These days, medical professionals are not as eager to make this call, and when they do test for this condition, they seem to set the baseline for it very high, so that many borderline cases go untreated. This is a judgment call that doctors make, and it is not all that common to get a different answer when you move from one doctor to another. Here are some symptoms that people report when they do have an underactive thyroid. Fatigue or weakness. These come from a sluggish metabolism. Weight gain or trouble losing weight. Dry hair and skin, or even hair loss. Cold intolerance. You seem to like the room a lot warmer than others. Constipation. Depression or bad mood. Yes, a sluggish thyroid can affect your mood. Memory loss. Abnormal periods. Decreased libido. Of course, any of these symptoms could have another cause, but if you have consulted a medical doctor and there is no other cause, a sluggish thyroid could be to blame. Experts estimate that 10% of Americans have this problem, but millions of people do not realize it. Women are more likely to have thyroid problems than men are. The problem becomes more severe with age. Chapter 7. 7 all-natural thyroid boosters to help your thyroid and your weight. Since one of the functions of your thyroid is controlling metabolism, there seems to be a big connection between the increased rate of thyroid symptoms and problems in America and the increased weight control problems. The following natural thyroid boosters are ideas that have been shown to help boost thyroid function and hence help increase metabolism and make it easier for you to lose weight as well as maintain a normal weight. Thyroid Booster 1. Reduce iodine blockers in the diet. Besides eating iodine-rich foods, you should reduce your intake of goitrogens, iodine blockers, like peanuts and soy. All raw cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, turnips, kale, and cauliflower are also goitrogens. Make sure they are ripe and cook them before eating them in significant amounts. Soy products are probably the worst goitrogen offenders. First of all, because cooking does not destroy the anti-thyroid substances in them. Secondly, studies show they are in 70% or more of all foods on our grocery shelves in the form of soy oil, texturized vegetable protein, soy flour, soy protein isolate, etc. We have been told for quite a while now that soy is good for us, so you may find it hard to believe that soy can actually promote weight gain by interfering with thyroid function. Avoid all soy products except for small amounts of fermented soy like natural soy sauce, tempeh, and miso. Thyroid Booster 2. Reduce refined foods and vegetable oils. Refined grains and sugars, as well as being bad for you in many other ways, put too much stress on the thyroid and can interfere with good thyroid function. In addition, vegetable oils have been proven to fatten up animals, but also cause the thyroid and other problems, including cancer. So if you want to have a healthy thyroid, reduce your consumption of all vegetable oils. This includes canola, corn, and soy. This also means not eating out or eating packaged foods much, as restaurants and packaged foods often contain some of these oils. Thyroid Booster 3. Add natural sources of iodine to your diet. Some natural sources of iodine that seem to be well used by the body include unrefined sea salts, kelp, bladderwrack, and other seaweeds, eggs, butter, and most seafoods, especially cold water deep sea fish. Fish sauce is also a rich source of iodine if properly prepared and is often used in Thai cuisine. It may also be useful to supply extra iodine to your diet by taking kelp or bladderwrack extracts or another herbal formula that contains seaweeds, as well as other herbs that can be helpful for nourishing the thyroid gland. Thyroid Booster 4. Add minerals and vitamins that support thyroid function. Zinc, chromium, selenium, and manganese are all minerals that have been shown to support the thyroid. You can add more minerals to your diet in a natural form that will help support your thyroid gland by using a whole food-based greens supplement and or coral calcium, which contains trace minerals like zinc and selenium. One of the most beneficial vitamins for the thyroid gland is vitamin A, although B, C, and E vitamins complexes are also important. Those with hypothyroid often have problems converting beta-carotene to vitamin A, so it is important that you get some real vitamin A. Never take synthetic vitamin A, as studies have shown it to be toxic at higher levels. Many, if not most of the vitamins you find in stores today, are isolated nutrients that come from synthetic sources. This is often true because these vitamins cost less to manufacture than vitamins from living food sources. However, vitamin supplements that are synthetic do not provide all the cofactors necessary for your body to fully utilize that supplement. So these products may bring much needed nutrients to your body in the short term, but over the long term will likely cause other problems in your body. Although they are difficult to find, it's worth it for your health to seek out only 100% whole food supplements and superfoods. Thyroid Booster 5. Get more exercise, especially rebounding. Exercise is also good for your thyroid, any kind. A rebounder can be especially helpful, but all exercise will stimulate the thyroid gland secretion and will help increase the sensitivity of your cells to the thyroid hormones. If you are too tired to get much exercise, you might want to think about adding coconut oil to your diet, or perhaps some good superfoods to help boost your energy levels so that you feel like exercising. Thyroid Booster 6. Add virgin coconut oil to your diet. Coconut oil, because of its metabolism-stimulating properties, seems to be an excellent thyroid system builder. If you have problems with your thyroid, you want to be sure to include coconut oil in your diet. Remember how we told you that animals got fatter when eating vegetable oils? Well, these same farmers then tried giving their animals coconut oil to see if that would fatten them up without the same problems their animals experienced on vegetable oils. Guess what? It made the animals more active and more lean instead. So add coconut oil to your diet today. Thyroid Booster 7. Stop using fluoride in your water and toothpaste. Fluoride may interfere with proper functioning of the thyroid. This means that if your water is fluoridated, it may be extremely helpful for you to buy a water filter that filters out fluoride. If you're not sure, check with your water supplier. About 50% of America's tap water is fluoridated today. You also want to avoid fluoride toothpaste since some of it inevitably will be ingested. Although none of these suggestions should take the place of your consulting a healthcare practitioner, many have found that by incorporating them into their lifestyles, their thyroid symptoms got better and it became easier to lose weight. Chapter 8. Thyroid Function. The reasons women are so prone to this condition are complex, though one important factor is simply the delicate nature of a woman's hormonal system. The thyroid gland belongs to a group of glands in the HPAT axis. This stands for hypothalamus thyroid axis pituitary adrenal. The HPAT axis is the locus of all hormonal direction and instruction in the body. All of the glands in it work in synergy. If the body detects a state of stress or starvation, the hypothalamus tells the pituitary and the thyroid gland to slow down. The thyroid gland is yoked to the success and health of other glands in a woman's body, so it's no wonder that it is so sensitive to damage. There are several different ways that the thyroid gland can malfunction. The most prominent way is due to the autoimmune disease Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which accounts for approximately 90% of cases in clinical hypothyroidism in the US. An autoimmune disease is one in which the body's immune system has gone into overdrive and accidentally started attacking its own cells as a result of poor gut barrier health. In Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the thyroid gland is the victim. You can find out for certain if you have Hashimoto's, as opposed to other kinds of thyroid malfunction, only through getting blood work done. A quick explanation of the thyroid function is helpful for understanding this blood work. First, your thyroid gland works only after it receives a green light signal for production by the pituitary gland, which comes in the form of thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH. When the TSH gets to the thyroid gland makes a molecule called T4. That's not the end of it though. T4 is not used by your body's cells. T3 is. T4 is converted to T3 by the liver. T3 then goes on to be active in the body. It is responsible for delivering energy to all of your cells. In Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the body receives a TSH signal from the pituitary gland, but the thyroid gland struggles to produce T4. As a result, low T4 is the primary marker most doctors look for on a blood exam to signal Hashimoto's thyroiditis. High TSH is also a potential indicator of Hashimoto's, as TSH levels increase when the body tries to convince the weakened thyroid to make more T4. The final and most definitive test for Hashimoto's thyroiditis is a test for the actual thyroid antibodies, TPO, themselves. When present in high quantities in the bloodstream, you know that your thyroid gland is being attacked. The way to overcome Hashimoto's thyroiditis is to heal the gut as well as possible. Do so using the recommendations made earlier, avoiding gut irritants such as grains, dairy, and even legumes, focusing on vitamin-rich foods like vegetables, organ meats, and egg yolks, consuming fermented foods or probiotic supplements on a regular basis. Unfortunately, with Hashimoto's, some or much of the thyroid gland is irreparably destroyed. If that is the case, you will likely need to go on some form of thyroid hormone supplementation to achieve optimal health. While Hashimoto's may be the most common form of hypothyroidism, it is not the only one. The other form of hypothyroidism that affects women is simple thyroid sluggishness. Many people struggle from this regardless of whether their blood thyroid hormone levels are clinically low or not. It is entirely possible to suffer from this problem and not test officially low, but close to it. Regardless of whether you test super low, low, or simply moderate, nearly all women can benefit from optimizing thyroid function. Thyroid production slows down as a response to stress. This is what I have called thyroid sluggishness. And no, this is definitely not a medical term. This includes both physical and psychological kinds of stress. Physical stressors include undereating, a low-carbohydrate diet, excessive weight loss, overexercise, or an inflammatory diet. Psychological stressors are all the usual pressures that come from adult life. In response to both types of stress, thyroid production shuts down in two primary ways. First, signals from the HPAT axis say, stop. This stop signal shows up on the blood tests as lowered TSH production. With low TSH comes a lower T4 level, and often a lower T3 level as well. The second way that stress impairs thyroid function is to throw a wrench in the link between T4 and T3 production. Stress causes the body to produce something called reverse T3, which actually blocks T3 from working in your body. Therefore, a blood test that indicates this kind of hypothyroidism will show lower T3, elevated RT3, and possibly T4 and TSH on the low end as well. The way to overcome sluggishness is to reduce stress, sleep more, eat when you are hungry, and stop when you are full. And perhaps most importantly, make sure you eat plenty of carbohydrates. The liver needs carbohydrates in order to convert T4 to T3. Be sure to eat at least 100 grams of dense carbohydrate every day, approximately 4 servings of fruit or starch on a low-fat diet, and at least 25 to 50 grams, 1 to 2 servings of fruit or starch on a low-carb diet. You can also bolster thyroid health by making sure you have some iodine and selenium in your diet, as these nutrients are necessary for thyroid function. Include iodized salt in your diet. If you do not consume iodized salt, note that most sea salt does not have iodine in it. Consume seaweed once a week if you can. For selenium, you can take a supplement or simply eat Brazil nuts, which are an excellent source of selenium. Seafood also contains selenium. If you have Hashimoto's, be certain to keep iodine and selenium in good balance, or avoid supplementing altogether, as excess iodine for Hashimoto's patients can cause a brief period of intense hyperthyroid activity called thyroid storm and damage to the thyroid gland. This has been Thyroid Diet. Lose weight fast and control your metabolism despite hypothyroidism by John Cook. Narrated by Jason Blakely. Copyright 2017. Disclaimer. This information is provided as is. The author, publishers, and/or marketers of this information disclaim any loss or liability, either directly or indirectly, as a consequence of applying the information presented herein, or in regard to the use and application of said information. No guarantee is given, either expressed or implied, in regard to the merchantability, accuracy, or acceptability of the information. The pages within this ebook have been copyrighted.